Hari Om. In the Bhagavad Gita, we know that there are 18 chapters. That means 18, all these are yogas actually. What he said is in the Kurukshetra battlefield, Sri Krishna, he sang this celestial song to Arjuna, keeping him as the representative for the entire humanity. And here, this yoga, actually what is yoga as defined by him? So in all these chapters he said that there are so many like Bhakti Yoga, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, Purushottam Prapti Yoga, Daiva Sampati Bhaga Yoga, Jnana Yoga, all these are there, all these are yogas. But one thing about yoga, what he said is, meditation on him is nothing but yoga. So in one sentence he said that, and this capacity or the consciousness, the awareness, only human beings have. So what he said about yoga is simply meditating on him, thinking of him all the time, and keeping him in front of us and doing any work. That is yoga according to him. So that means one line definition it is. So when then we can say, is it so easy? So that is Krishna Yoga. So what he said is, that is Krishna Yoga. So we know that yoga means what according to him, meditation on him and keeping him in us, giving him a place in our heart and doing every work taking his name. So that is Krishna Yoga according to him. But here the same thing what he said was surrendering. We keep him in our heart. That is by practice or any other strong determination. Though we waver at sometimes, we can keep him in our heart and say that he is in our heart. But is the simple saying enough? Simple saying is not enough. What he is telling is, that means it is very clearly he said in the 30th sloka of the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, in the 30th sloka. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirasi nirmamo bhutva yuddhasya vigada jvara. So once again, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirasi nirmamo bhutva yuddhasya vigata jvaraha. So that's what he said. So surrendering everything to him, feeling that this Antaryami is he only. So Antaryami means our inner consciousness or inner conscience or whatever we say. That means Chittam. So here that Chittam is telling, keeping him in Chittam as Antaryami, that means feeling his presence all the time. surrendering to Him, surrendering to Him everything. And what happens when we surrender to Him actually? When we say, oh, I surrendered this, I surrendered everything to Him, then what we become is the simple down to the earth persons. Down to the earth persons. Because we will be removed first from the egoism. We only feel that we are the instruments in His hands and He is the Karta Karma Kriya. So He is the doer, He is the does, He is the did everything. So subject, verb and object, everything is He only. Then what are we? So we are only persons doing actions according to His decree, just as instruments. If we have any instrument in our hand, if we have to do work with that instrument, we'll do it. And then we say that it is with the instrument we could do this work. So in the same way, what he is telling is, we will first, by surrendering, if really we surrender, not lip word, if really we surrender to His lotus feet, then what happens is, first the I sense will go away. I am nothing. Everything is He. So what I am doing, what I am going to do, what I am thinking, so everything is He only. He is making me do, He is making me think, He is making me act. So like that. When this concept emerges into our minds, then what happens? The mental fevers, the mental sicknesses like the greed, then the lust, all the other six ones, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, all these, they will be fought by this concept of surrendering. So we need not fight. The surrendering itself will fight with all these six enemies that will be residing in us from the time we are born. Then again here we get another doubt. If suppose anyone say we have surrendered everything, so now we are free of all these six vices, six enemies from us. Is it so easy for a person to come out of these six enemies that reside in us? Actually, they cling to us. They cling to us all the time. So it's not easy that we get rid of them. Like we put a ring on our finger and if we want we can remove it. But these are not like that. Then what happens? What we must do? We must these are also the attributes only. These attributes we must understand in depth and analyze each of the attributes in such a way that we realize the spiritual consciousness in us, and when we are aware of the spiritual consciousness, these vices slowly they move, they drift away from us, and only then can we become down to the earth personalities. Saying is easy, doing is difficult. Being is easy, becoming is difficult. So if we want to become, first we must analyze all these. We must remove, like what we are saying as Sadasiv Brahmendra, what he said. Are you the eye? Then he says, no, I'm not the eye. He say, I'm not the hand, I'm not the leg, I'm not the heart, I'm not the head, I'm not the eye, I'm not the ears. I'm not nothing external I am. Then what are you? Then he says, I am the self, the Atman, pervading everywhere, all times, beyond space and beyond limits. So that's what he said. And here also for us the same thing. If we analyze these six vices in depth, then we will introspect ourselves. If we got this, if we got the greed, if we got the lust, if we got the pride, if we got the egoism, then each one will be removing. Each one, everything will be removing one after another, one after another. By self realization, by the state of spiritual consciousness which we attain, then all these will be automatically, they will be subdued in us. And the I sense finally goes away, vanishes. In that I sense, we feel only the Paramatman. Only the Paramatman is in us, and He is making us do all these works, all these thoughts He is making us think, and there is nothing for which we can feel proud of. And then we surrender finally at His feet. So that's what He's telling. So, in the same way, He told in the last chapter also. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam raja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masacha. So what is actually moksha? It is not a fruit for us to get. It is not an article or an ornament to be adorned by us. It is something, a realization, awareness of the spiritual sense or spiritual consciousness. And when we surrender to Him all the dharmas, then we become first karma yogi, jnana yogi, and then brahma yogi. And this is not as easy as we think, because we cannot see the cosmic being. The cosmic being actually, he dwells in us. The cosmic being is the cause of all the events. And actually, he metaphorically becomes the inner will in us and resides as God in every heart. So, here, what he is telling is, I am the cosmic being, and the same cosmic being I am dwelling in you. So, what is there for you to renounce? What is it for you to surrender to me? He is asking us. So, here we must be transposed. So, our will must be transformed, and then only the surrender will come. We can surrender everything to Him, at His lotus feet. And actually, in the Gita, the Krishna Yoga is nothing but surrendering. When Arjuna asked, so everyone are my relatives, my friends, my bosoms, so how can I do this war? I'm going to leave everything. I will go away, I don't want this war. I will reside somewhere without being known to the world. But then Krishna said, no, running away is not the correct way. Surrendering is the correct way. So, what is the surrendering? He said to Arjuna, Surrendering means nothing. You just do your actions, keeping the responsibility of me on me, thinking that everything I am doing, you are only an instrument. So, in one word, how beautifully he said, surrender, 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 everywhere surrender only. You take the Bhakti Yoga or the Purushottama Prapti Yoga, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, whatever it is. So, all these yogas tend to Krishna Yoga only. So now again we say that there is another yoga, Krishna Yoga. So Krishna Yoga is nothing but surrendering. Surrendering with the thought that he is the doer, he is the does, he is the did. He is the subject, he is the verb, he is the object. And whatever we do, whatever we think, whatever we act, everything must be surrendered at his lotus feet. Then we have nothing to do. Neither pride, nor vanity, nor prejudice, because nothing remains. When we come to the point of surrendering, then how can we surrender only unless we have that spiritual consciousness? When we have that spiritual consciousness, this gross body is nothing. Then automatically we feel that nothing is ours. No moment is ours. All moments are His only. No movement is ours. All movements are His only. No thoughts are ours. All thoughts are His only. So when such an awareness comes in our minds, automatically we do surrender. This is the highest level. When we surrender, then we think, even without, that means involuntarily, not voluntarily. Involuntarily also our heart, mind, it always thinks of Him, meditates on Him. And it is His responsibility to look after us. So that's what He did. Finally, when Arjuna he surrendered at his lotus feet in Vishwarupa Sandarsana Yoga and Vibhuti Yoga, after seeing his Vibhutis and this Vishwarupa Sandarsana, Vishwarupa Virat Rupam of the Lord, finally Arjuna surrendered at his lotus feet. And then what did the Lord do? He just put him in front of him, that means behind him, and he rode the chariot, making him do all the works, keeping him as an instrument. So here in our life also we only have to think like that. We are nothing. So we think one. Man proposes, God disposes. We think of so many things. But whatever we think does not happen. And really if it happens, we will become gods. Then how will this life and death cycle be carried by him? So that's what he said, that this surrender word has been passed on from generations to generations, from yugas to yugas, yugas to yugas. So this is when we get rid of the vices, when we realize the spiritual consciousness, we come out of the human weaknesses and surrender, taking his doctrine of Lord Krishna as the one and only one which has been passed on from generations to generations, and we have to learn from it. When we learn, when we think in depth, because this is not a superficial knowledge, it's a profound knowledge. When we come to understand this profound knowledge, we will automatically surrender at his lotus feet. There's nothing, there's no point why we should not surrender. Because after our gross body vanishes, I also will vanish. So why not we vanish it before our gross body vanishes? So that's what Swami Vivekananda also said. When we are alive, when we are aware, when we are aware of the consciousness of the God, the Atman, all pervading God, and we are unable to see a Rama or Krishna or Buddha or anything in any other being, what is the use of getting the awareness of all this? It's only when we be aware we can surrender. So finally, what he wanted to tell through this Krishna Yoga, through the Bhagavad Gita, through all the yogas is surrender, surrender, surrender. Nothing more than that. So surrender is the only weapon with which we can free ourselves from these cycles of birth and death. Hari Om.